Welcome to Life
on
Life's
Terms
with your host, Justin.
and Kenny.
We are going to get into the topics of detachment, hard lessons learned from relationships, and healthy boundaries with our friends. But before we do that, we would like to pay our bills and do our shout-outs. So would you like to feel like an astronaut? Would you like to detach from this world, disconnect for a little while? Where is the best place to do this? Well, our friends over at Modern Gravity, of course. For only $39.99 a month, you can have the experience of an astronaut and detach from this world for about an hour. For more details, please visit www.moderngravity.ca.
Onopoke is a new fast casual dining experience. The Hawaiian style is fantastic. Onopoke has won tremendous awards in the Edmonton area, and if you look, I'm sure they won them in your area as well. Go build your own poke bowl with choices of fur cake rice, quinoa spring salad, and along with vegetable seasonings and protein options such as torched miso salmon poke, albacore tuna, and spicy Thai salmon poke. Ono means delicious, and we have always experienced that every time. They are in various locations in Canada and the US. Please Google Ono Poke.
That's it.
Bam.
So, the Valentine's Day show with your ex,
Yeah.
you've had a little bit of time to percolate over it. What are your thoughts now?
Well, it was really fun to connect with her again, especially in this setting. I've spoken with her numerous times over the years over the phone, in jail mostly, but also when I got out just to check in here and there. And, it's really good to see how awesome she's doing and that I didn't really fuck her up for a long period of time afterwards.
Yeah.
But to actually see her being happy and successful, and she actually learned lots from me and moved on and did something with herself instead of
Staying stagnant in that cycle. I mean, I think that's what I was kind of saying too earlier on in the show when you first came in. What the beautiful thing about that show was how many of us stay in that cycle, in that rut.
In that same type of relationship.
Yeah.
Why do I keep dating assholes?
Yeah. And you can you can see the work that she went through and the self-searching that she had gone through in order not to fall into that same behavior of finding the same relationship.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, she had to change, obviously, her reflection, that moral mirror, right?
Yeah, she had to do internal work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she did that right away. At first she wanted change, and that was obvious when she went, when she stated that she went from dating me to the son of a cop.
Yeah.
Right? So she did that first shift, that drastic change.
Yeah.
But then, I remember talking to her when she was in that relationship, and it had its flaws and setbacks as well, even though it was on the opposite end of the spectrum. But it gave her a good opportunity to, get away from that gangster mentality. And at least in that state where there's more security than being in a relationship with a gangster, she was obviously able to do some internal work and move on with her life and do something good.
Well, and I think she gave so many examples throughout the show of what she did in order to change her thinking. And I was talking about that show with somebody else yesterday, and I had basically said it's amazing to see that she could experience that once and then recognize that it had to change drastically. Most of us don't catch on that quickly. You know what I mean? How many times did it take you to go to jail to finally realize, fuck, this probably isn't for me?
Yeah, a dozen.
My
My buddy, I talked to him the other day. He just got out, and he went in. It was his first time actually going through the whole system, and making it to a unit. And when I spoke to him, he goes, bro, I don't mean this to offend you in any way, but you got to be fucking stupid to go back to that place twice.
And it's true, right? I mean, I remember making the line in the sand saying that I would never go to the new remand center here in Edmonton, coming out of the old remand center. I can assure you that I totally accommodated that.
Yeah, never say never.
Yeah, like or what was the other superstition is don't ever start a book that you don't think you can finish in jail because you'll come back and finish it.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Sure it is, but that's the superstition because that's the mentality behind everybody that's in there.
Yeah, or another one is like don't like graffiti your name in a cell because you'll be back to see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that superstition that goes
Hey,
with that mentality.
whatever
I think.
you believe, you receive.
Well, and I think that's one of those things where you can push that. You know what I mean? Like I never wrote my name in a cell. There was no point to that. I didn't want anybody to know
That you were there.
well that I fucked up my business enough to be there.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
the people I knew didn't go to jail. They went to jail once for like a 6-7 month beef. Doesn't make you any less of a gangster. It just means that you didn't get caught. Right? Like I remember walking to EYOC a little, like the Edmonton Young Offender Center, and I was like, look at these, you suck at your fucking chosen career. Because the people I know don't get caught. I didn't get caught till I was 28 years old. I was pretty fucking good at what I was doing. Like you guys got caught now. They know you. You're on the radar.
Yeah.
You're not going any further than like them going to your front fucking door when the MO fits you and you're out on the street.
Yeah.
Like that's where you're at. Detachment. So we talked about a little bit about detachment yesterday.
Just let go.
You're reading it in Codependent No More.
Yeah, I started to. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your initial thoughts about detachment? Have you been detaching in a healthy way? Is I guess would be appropriate.
In relationship wise, I'd say like 85% of the time I'm doing pretty good with detachment.
Yeah.
Like it's not 100% of the time. Sometimes my emotions bind me to the circumstance for a little too long. But it's something that I'm aware of more now, and I'm working on it. And then that book actually helped me be more aware of it. But we can only do so much in a day, and I need to, not hold myself accountable to the goals that I don't accomplish that day for life and relationships.
Yeah.
And I also need to so in that aspect in life, like I'm doing pretty good with detachment. Like I keep myself accountable and do my best every day.
Yeah.
But like with detachment in relationships, I'd still say it's around that 85% mark. But I don't always let my partner's emotions determine my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really energy sensitive. So if something's not right away, I can feel it. And even like this morning, my partner's energy was a little bit lower. And I said, "What's wrong? Are you sure nothing's wrong? Here, give me a hug." And then her energy was a little off, and she left the house. Everything was okay. I said, "Hope you have a really good day. I'll see you later." But today I was aware of it, and I didn't let her lack of enthusiasm for the day, I guess, in the morning, take away from my enthusiasm for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am more aware of the art, the art of detachment, and it is an art because when you hold yourself and you bind yourself to certain circumstances and events, I find myself that I would be victim to that circumstance or event. That would be the determining factor. That would be the determining thing that would affect my emotions. But now with detaching from the event emotionally, to just sit back just for a second. I don't have to go into say me and my girlfriend are fighting or conflict arises.
Mm-hmm.
Verbal conflict. It's a healthy argument, a healthy fight. I don't need to sink into that because we have a disagreement. I don't need to become that disagreement.
Mm-hmm. The
disagreement is just there, and my love for her is separate from the disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, that's a healthy way to practice detachment.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree that that can be practiced in. So you know how some people would say, "You made me feel that way."
I know, I don't like it when people say that.
Well, the problem is, my opinion. The problem with that is nobody has the power to make you feel anything but you.
Yeah, I believe that.
And now the other thing is when people say,
But like, there is that influence, though. If you're not aware of
Sure.
that ideology, that belief that we are master of our own feelings and our own thoughts.
"Sure." I mean, when there's a mass presence like 9/11, there's a lot of people obviously really upset about 9/11.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of lives, and many people were feeling the same emotions. Now, that's fair, but one can't suggest that another person made them feel that way. That was the response that they had towards the scenario, situation, or action that had taken place. See?
Yeah, so it's like an awareness of the response.
Exactly. So same thing like when somebody says words. You say certain words and somebody says, well, you shouldn't be able to say those words. My issue with it is that anybody should be able to say any words that they want in order to be able to express the way that they feel, as ignorant or as profoundly intelligent that it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, it's up to you whether that word is going to have value in what you think it's doing to you. Right?
Yeah, well, we can put a new spin to any word.
Sure, you can, but it's not our suggestion to say that the world needs to adopt that definition for the world.
Yeah,
Right?
but we gotta be able to adopt ideology or a definition a definition of these words, or a way to detach
Sure,
from them so they don't affect us.
Like the one that I'm thinking of is like when we say something is retarded. That's retarded. Right?
Yeah. Well, then there's stigma around that, and
Sure.
and people.
But that even being said, they may have stigma, they may have their own issues with it, but it's not my responsibility for them to hear that word and then decipher their feelings about it. I didn't make you feel anything. I said a word such as retarded to insinuate my feelings about a certain situation.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that's that I'm afforded the ability in order to utilize that word within a sentence or within a thought to say that's what I feel or that's what I think about that certain situation. And for another person to dictate saying, well, do you understand what it does to other people? Well, this is what I've learned. If that word has that much power over you, you have some work to do. Flat out. If you're triggered that quickly over one thing, I think the respectable and the responsible thing that one needs to do is look deep within their self mirror, their moral mirror, or the image of themselves, and say, why did that word affect me so much? Because it's pretty profound that a word can have that much power over you.
Well, like, I'm just going to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
I was working with a lady, and her son was mentally handicapped.
Okay.
And she was like one of the bosses at this job. And I was like, that's fucking retarded when we were having a conversation about something. Whoa, listen, mister. Like, I got the hand up.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't use that word around here.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what word? That R word.
Yeah.
Why? Like, I didn't get it. I was ignorant at the time. Like, why? Well, my son, this and that. Okay. I'll mind my words around you. What do you have to say about that, though? Like, it was her son.
Again, I'm not responsible for their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not responsible that they feel that way. It's up to them. And to suggest that the world or the environment needs to change for one person, in my opinion, is a little bit obtuse of that person to signify that everybody in the room or everybody in that space needs to change because they have an issue with one word.
Yeah.
I think the diplomatic side to that is to recognize what the intended use of that word meant,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I was teased many, many times as a kid. I was a sped kid. I have dyslexia. I was called a retard. I was called a fat fuck. I was called the prostitute's kid, all this shit when I was a kid. Does that mean today that I still hold a stigma around those words? No. The reason why is because I worked on myself in order for those words not to have a value in that way in my life.
How did you do that?
Well, you have to start recognizing, you have to look at your moral mirror. You know, you need to look at who you are, and what you're doing, so that that is the direct reflection of you and not some words that people use that you allow to label and define you. That's what matters, right? If somebody says the word retard or sped or any of those things, learning disabled, any of that stuff, it holds no direct influence upon me. It's not a triggering word.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went to a school that was designed specifically for people with learning disability.
Yeah.
Like, and I can tell you.
Yeah, but look at you now.
Well, the difference, I think the ability becomes, how do you seek out your self-confidence? Because it's self-confidence that's going to persevere. Ego is something that we continuously take inventory in order to inflate. I don't have to inflate self-confidence. It's there because I earned it. It's like when you have gold in the bank, when you have cash, so you get your payday, and it's $1,000, and at $1,000 you realize, oh shit, I can afford like $500 worth of silver. Okay, so you go buy silver. You go put that in the bank. You're not selling that next week. You're not going to sell it next year. You're not going to sell it in 5 years from now. You're going to hold on to that until the value grows in it. But it's growing constantly and doing nothing. Whereas self-esteem is similar to that. The only difference is you have to continuously show the value of it to yourself every day. Nobody else has to see what the value is. Nobody else has to acknowledge it. You're the only one who has to acknowledge it. And what you're going to find, I would say, anybody who's fairly ego-driven, is that they have to tell you all of the great things that they're doing in order to say that they're a good person. And that is somebody who is for sure ego-driven. I don't have to say or acknowledge the good things, air quotes, of what I've done. All that matters is I get up in the morning, I humble myself, I go to the gym at some point in the day, and then from there I will for sure check my emotional stability, and then from there I will go and be of service. Right? That's all that matters. And if I can do that at the end of the day, well, I can love that person. Before I could only like that person. But those are the dividends that I keep putting in to that self-esteem.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, well, how valuable is that? It's pretty hard to break it even when I'm in a shitty mood.
Yeah.
Even when I'm getting into a shitty place, I know that self-esteem will always persevere as opposed to my ego. I could make alter personalities in order to transfer myself, but I can make an alter personality so that my new self-esteem and that new personality can become something, right? Like there's Justin 1, who was a drug dealer, pimp, and all those things. And then there's Justin 2, which is what I am today. See, that was was more beneficial to me, because then I could assassinate the old Justin. But it's a hard earn when you start realizing, and we go back to detachment and saying this, when you realize everything that you ever had or knew was wrong. Because you have to start from zero in order to rebuild yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's back to the show yesterday. That's pretty much what your ex had to do. She went to zero in order to say, what are my values again?
Yeah, and rebuilt herself.
Because you have to take hold in stock and say, it's like I said, I used this analogy before. If we take a glass of water and we put a little bit of dye in there, eventually that dye is going to succumb the entire glass of water. Try to separate that. You can't. And if we go that far gone, that's the progression and those shitty things that we do, those shitty judgments, those snap judgments, all of that, that's what it's going to compile to. So eventually you just have to dump the water out of the glass and find new water.
Yeah.
You know, you can't take the dye out. So if we see it in that light, it's easier to start from nothing than it is to try to salvage something. Because even if you can see that little line of dye that's in the glass of water, you still can't salvage the fucking water, because the second you move the cup, the water succumbed with that color.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's easier just to say lock, stock, and barrel, chuck it all out, and let's start again.
Yeah.
It's easier to do that. It's easier to recreate than it is to take and try to salvage and create, because it'll never be recreated in that way. Like that just doesn't work. And that's the detachment. Like that's where you detach yourself from before, right? This whole thing with Codependent No More, you started, I think anybody who reads that book, even myself included, when I was reading it, I started realizing, look, there's a lot of shit here that I don't need to have in my life. And I realized how, as self-centered and selfish as I was in the throes of my addictive behavior, how unselfish I was outside of that. And then I realized through reading that book, why I'm not taking time out for myself is because I don't value myself. Because there's nothing to value. There was nothing to value at that moment.
But you had to create the value through build exercises where you build self-confidence.
100%. So what is, like, in AA or CA or any of those A's, one of the biggest things that they get you to do is public speak.
Mm-hmm.
We do a thing called H&I, hospitals and institutions, where we go into these places where people are recovering from their addiction.
Yeah.
And we talk about what it'll be like if they decide to come to a program of rigorous honesty. And in doing that, what ends up happening is you get a high from it. Now, I've seen people who haven't completed a full set of steps and go and do that, and they will relapse within the night of doing that speech. And the reason for it is because they don't know how to deal with the synapses endorphins that are released from having to find the courage that it takes in order to speak in front of 50 people. That's a tall feat. It's not an easy order to get in front of 50 people and talk about what happened, what it was like, and where you're at today.
Yeah.
You know, that's some serious soul searching in front of a group of people, right? And to be rigorously honest about it. No more lies, no more of the facade or the personifications that you used to use in order to hide people. I mean, I used to do this all the time with my exes. I would lie to them about everything, and then when they broke up with me, I tell them, you don't even know my fucking age. What do you mean? You think I'm going to tell a rat like you my fucking age so you can go tell the cops who I am? What, are you stupid? You were never supposed to stick around. That was always my out. And I would weaponize that in a very crude way. I'm weaponizing my own lies to this person. You know what I mean? Like I would ask them when they were going out the door, how old do you think I am? Because you don't have a fucking clue. You don't have a fucking clue. What do you think what do you think my name is? You don't even know my fucking name. Right? Like how fucked up is that?
That's fucked up.
And that was like my that was like my defense all the way through. Right? That's how that was the preservation of myself. So now all of a sudden I'm in front of 50 people saying my name. Not my full name, but saying my name.
And your shortcomings.
My shortcomings and how I overcame them. And what led to those shortcomings and the blind ones that I had throughout my entire life. That's why those public speaking engagements are so difficult. Because now you're learning how to do a Geronimo jump with such courage. You know, without a facade, without any defense, without any of that. You're literally just going to be raw in front of these people. And effectively, that's exactly what this podcast is as well, to a degree.
Ooh, baby, I like it raw.
But that's, I mean, and anybody who's coming in here, I mean, that's why, like, your ex that came in yesterday, I give her mad kudos for coming in.
Being vulnerable and open.
Yeah,
like
because that's a huge deal, right?
Yeah, she's strong. She's
Well, even Maria, when she came in,
Yeah.
same idea.
Yeah.
You know, like these people don't know anybody from a hole in the ground. You know, like
They're just speaking to an audience they don't even know or can't even see.
that's right.
Yeah.
You know, so that's pretty amazing when you think about what it is that they had expelled, so to say, on the mics. Detachment too, I'll say, has become easier. I don't get involved with people in a way. I always self-reflect where I'm like, if they walk out of my life, where would I be? Am I going to be okay? I did that with my mom, like in early recovery. I used to be the guy that would say, I need psychotherapy now for when my mom dies in 30 years. That's because that's how fucking codependent I was upon my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm okay with her dying. I mean, it probably sounds pretty heartless and callous, but I know my life is not going to go to fucking ribbons because she passed away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you can see that, then you start realizing how independent you just grew the fuck up. Like you just grew up a lot when you're able to see that, believe it, know it, and say it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a huge deal. You know, you're not a mental midget anymore. You know, you have some sort of depth and weight of what it's going to take in order to become an independent person.
It's pretty heavy shit.
I think it's a reality to start asking yourself those hard questions, and the only person who you really have to be honest with is yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did you ask yourself some sort of questions that was looking for a root of honesty, and you're like, oh yeah, just lying to yourself. Like, how many years did you spend lying to yourself?
25.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And you want to believe those lies. And we'll do the same thing in our life today, going like, oh yeah, by tomorrow it's all going to turn around. Well, it could. You could also win the fucking lottery. You know what I mean? Like it could. It probably will in time. It's not going to happen tomorrow, nor is it going to happen the week after. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen the next month either. Keep plugging away.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Not many people, I'm not going to say nobody, but not many people get like a lottery win. It's a one in Canada, it's like a 1 in a 35 million chance shot. There's 35 million people here that we know of, you know, aside from like the people who are not registered here.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you think at this moment, looking at any of your relationships now, to foresee detachment, do you think you'd be able to handle it in the way that Melody Beattie described in her book?
I'd like to say yes, that I would be able to like cope with it and go on functioning properly. But if I were to go off of the evidence of the past, then no. There's definitely going to be some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, to be brutally honest, right?
Yeah.
I was really always really, 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 really bad with breakups.
Yeah.
To where it's like, you're going to fucking hate me if we break up. Right?
Was it because the bridge had to be burnt?
Well, like, it has to do with not practicing detachment. You know, if you leaving, like, not only now, like, even if, like, this is how bad I was. If I was, like, creating a fight by being critical, and that fight escalated to the point where that person was like, fuck this guy, I don't want to be with this guy anymore. Even though I created the scenario myself, now not only are you depriving me of a loved one that I've bonded with, but you're depriving me of the future that I've imagined with this loved one. And it's that image of the future that I would be attached to. You know, it's that image of that perfect
White picket fence.
codependent relationship down the road that I imagined that is impossible to achieve.
Let me stop you there just for a second. So is it like living out the fantasy of a song?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you know, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, there's a lot of investment there. There's invested emotions, there's invested time, there's invested money, there's invested everything.
You know what I also have come to realize? We were talking about the song thing. Think about how many hero movies there are out there that have been reiterated time and time again that are based around a codependent mechanism.
Yeah, lots.
So what is that? You and I, and we've talked about this before, you and I are the generation that was raised by TV for the most part. Kids now are being raised by the internet and YouTube.
Yeah.
So when we look at how that plays out, so let's face it.
There was always a love story in there.
And the relationships, like for me, my dad was never with my mom. My mom never dated anybody when I was growing up. So I never really had any reinforcement of what a healthy couple looked like and what independence looks like.
Yeah.
My mom was so young when she was raising me that she was codependent upon me as I was on her.
Yeah.
So where was I ever going to learn that codependency was in a relationship? Never. That was the basis of life is supposed to be like the white picket fence, and you know what I mean? Like what a movie is, right? Because that's the way how you almost imagine what life is going to be like, right?
Well, yeah, we can only really imagine what we see.
Well, especially at that young age, we're being programmed that that's normal. And then as I'm reading Codependent No More, and I'm like I said it yesterday on the show where I was like, or you'll realize that you've been loving wrong.
Yeah, well, like I was raised by The Simpsons.
Yeah.
You know, and look at Marge and Homer.
Yeah.
Like he's abusive. He's fucking a sloth that fucking sits on the couch and fucking. And right now, I'm part-time in it and entrepreneur in it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of the thing too. Is like, I think that's kind of the thing is that did we really have a fighting chance with that kind of looking back at it and hindsight being 2020? Did you really have a fighting chance to know what a healthy relationship was?
No,
like really, because the influences that we had. It's one thing to say, like here, we were talking about taking the responsibility of words, so on and so forth, just like only minutes ago.
Yeah.
But we're of an adult mind now. You know what I mean? Like it's our responsibility to do that as an adult. Now, the bigger issue, I think, as a kid is we didn't have any idea. Nobody's sitting down with us saying, look at... your dad is independent of me and I'm independent of them. And this is the dynamic of a relate. No, actually, you would have probably learned that through example. Your parents would have been an example to that. And then you would have thought, oh, well, that's normal. That's normal behavior.
Yeah.
And their friends would have did the same thing and so on and so forth. And then eventually you would recognize that the majority of the people in your life, that's normality. Instead, coming from dysfunction, it becomes codependence is normal, and that's love, and that's the way to love, and like that's what it becomes. So what do we go and seek out, or what do we try to recreate? Some fucking imaginary dysfunctional relationship that some writer wrote to become an amazing movie ending. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're trying to live out. We're always trying to be the hero. We're playing a facade. We're playing an act. It's not even us. So if that was as influential as it is on our generation coming up as generation, whatever the fuck it's called, millennials, what the fuck is Generation Z going to be with YouTube? Where it's only like a 5 to 10 minute clip of life. That's fucking scary, man. Like, that's scary in my mind.
I have a lot of slime makers.
It's going to be nuts. Like, that's going to be nuts to see that.
My kids are junked out right now on YouTube. They're fucking codependent on YouTube. Slime videos.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just, I know.
My kids have been watching slime videos for 2 years, man. What the fuck?
Yeah. And it's like, go read a book. And a lot of things that are happening, well, what they say is happening right now is kids are unable to produce their own DMT.
Send them to modern gravity.
And the reason for it is because they have no ability to imagine. The imagination is not there because it's given from YouTube all of the time.
Yeah. Yo, no, that's a real thing. Like, I sit down with my kids. I'm like, yo, let's draw a picture. They're like, I don't know what to draw.
Yeah.
Draw something in your imagination.
Yeah, they don't have one.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's all being provided to them. I mean, there was a book, I don't know if you ever read 1984 by George Orwell. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have.
Yeah.
And they talked about having advertisement right in your hand.
Bam.
What's your phone? Like,
Bam.
I mean, we're there.
Yeah.
As crazy as 1984 seemed to be, we're living out that destiny to a degree. Same thing with Brave New World. That's becoming the same thing, like the sexual liberation and the society that's becoming society, I think, today has a hard time being monogamous.
Absolutely.
You know, they want to be monogamous.
Well, the idea of monogamy is there.
Yeah.
And, it's been blasted for so long, to marry and have kids in North America that, like our parents expected of us, and almost lots of people are getting married just to appease their parents. But, it's a real struggle when like you're constantly blasted on our phones and on our tablets and on our computers about what ideal looks like.
Yeah.
They have these females and males, and it's like, oh, I'm expected to, make 80,000 plus a year and have abs and have a sports car, a huge house. Otherwise, I'm a fucking schmuckle.
Well, I used to, yeah, I agree. And it's going to be crazy. So like I financial advise, like I look at the markets a lot. And I'm going to tell you a tip right now. We're going into what people thought 2008 was. We're going into something much worse. China's already won. And I'm going to tell you, North America's lost. Okay. And it's going to become Eurasia, Africa, and then America. We're not going to have the clout that we had. And this golden era heyday that Trump has created is just a bubble in America, and it's going to get deflated. The problem is in 2008 we should have did what they did in 1930s. We needed a reset of that magnitude, and we didn't. Instead, we bailed it out because North Americans as a whole were too fucking weak just to accept that we needed to go and eat shit for fucking 6 to 7 years in order to turn another golden era of heyday into our economy. And we decided not to do that. And the unfortunate that's going to happen is we're going to see another catastrophe. And again, this goes back to words. They never wanted to call that recession in 2008 a depression, but that's exactly what it fucking was. It was a depression that should have happened. And you cannot scathe that off. It's coming again. And when it comes again, it's going to be times 2. Like that's what's going to happen. And either we take the bit in our mouths and we eat shit for 12 years and maybe come back out on top, or we bail out again and then it's just going to be times 3 in another 10 years. Like that's the reset that we've created ourselves. And the amount of debt that you and I have because of that reset in 2008, our children will never live debt free. I can tell you that right now. Our children will never live debt free. And where Canada is right now, as much as finance is a part of life, okay, you need financial stability in order to live, okay, or else you're not going to eat, okay. Where we're at right now financially here in Canada is it's destitute at the best. Like we're in serious trouble. And so if we don't start recognizing that bartering with your friends is worth more than the money, and that idea of the 80K, the great big house, the sports car, and the abs, And that lifestyle isn't for everybody. And very, very few people get it. And when this bust happens, the issue that it's going to be is it's going to be so public. Everybody's going to know you on social media. Everybody's going to know that you were supposedly something or somebody. And then in the next 4 to 5 years, you're fucking working at Pizza Hut. If Pizza Hut still even exists here.
Yeah.
You know, that's how dire it's going to be in the next 5-6 years. That's what it's going to be. And because it's so public, I think a lot of people see, before in the Great Depression, it was losing the financial stability that people were committing suicide over. I think people are going to start committing suicide because of the social assassination. I mean, imagine you had 4.5 million followers. The next thing you know, you have to go work at Pizza Hut.
Humble up, son.
But how many people do you think can really take that? And then those 4 or 5 million people see you panning a pizza.
Fucking practice detachment.
That'd be tough. Like, it'd be tough to really handle that, right?
Absolutely.
So instead of people like committing suicide over losing their, like jumping out of the buildings like they said people were doing on that Black Friday, you're going to see people committing suicide because of the social recourse that happens from losing or not having that social magnitude anymore in your finances.
Well, like, it does weigh heavily. Like, even recently, I've affected a blow, or I've felt a blow socially. And, like, I know what it feels like to have, you know, and that wasn't even of my doing. That was of somebody else's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, you can feel it inside, you know. And everything is so public these days, even relationships.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
like that's what I'm getting at. All of your relationships are in a public forum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What's your take on, like, posting your relationship on social media?
No.
I don't do it either.
Like, one of the things that I think we did well here on Life's Terms is we talked about the shitty things that had happened in our past and how we reformed.
Have you ever done that?
What's that?
Post your relationship on Facebook?
No, I wouldn't.
In the past, I never did because it would eliminate possible opportunities with other females. Right? Like, as douchey as it sounds.
Yeah.
But now, when that's not even my target, but if you post, I feel like if you post your relationship on social media, it makes you look like a fool.
I think it makes it disingenuous.
Yeah, I think it just looks so stupid,
Like,
because in a couple months down the road, when it doesn't work out between you guys and you got to, like, take that off your Facebook, you look even more stupid.
well, you look like a codependent fuck.
Yeah.
That's what you look like in front of the world. Like, she's
Yeah.
my everything. What?
Yeah.
What kind of weak fuck are you? Like, that's all I think in my head.
Where do you draw the line between
Like there's a couple
codependency?
people on Instagram that are following Life on Life's Terms that I see their feed, because I typically we follow back the people that follow us for the most part.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, Life on Life's Terms podcast. And some of the people that I'm seeing, they're like, they're just codependent as fuck, man. Like, she's my whole world. She's my everything. She's this. She's that. I love you so much, baby. What the fuck? Are you that fucking stupid? Like, you're such a weak, infantile fucking person that you need to tell the entire world that, one, you've claimed your so-called partner, so now they're just a possession to you.
Yeah.
And secondly, the second thing that's running through wild is that you can't live without them. Like, how weak of a person is that? You know what I mean? Like that's not, I don't know. In my opinion, that's not good at all. Like, that's just not healthy. You don't know who you are. You haven't deserved the right to be in a relationship.
You want to know what's funny? When people break up and they get into, like, that really harsh breakup on Facebook. So, like, the woman's slandering the man and the man is slandering the woman. And they both, like, delete each other off their Facebook.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
Those are hard lessons to learn, though.
Has
Like,
that ever happened to you?
No, because like I said, I was never on Facebook till like 2 years ago.
Oh,
Wasn't allowed.
Yeah, it wasn't allowed.
Like, I wasn't allowed. So that was never an issue in my life. I had to be a ghost, like, all of the time.
In the mob, like,
Like, you just don't do stuff like that. You don't make yourself known to anybody. You know what I mean? So, like, Like that was never an issue. What was an issue though is so like my mom never met any of the women in my life. But then the worst was these girls would meet my associates and like maybe they would start fucking them afterwards. And being
sleeping their way up the gangster ladder.
well, being the whoppy fuck that I was, like she was just a possession really.
Yeah.
I wanted to like just destroy her. Like that's where I was at in my head. You know what I mean? Like fuck you. How dare you? It's not even my associate's fault. Like he's just like you're not fucking hanging around. You're just trying to and I would literally take it personally like they're trying to hurt me. You're trying to emasculate me. That's how I would look at that. You're trying to emasculate me. And if you go down this fucking road, you might find yourself in a pile of dirt. You know? Like there was a time that I don't know how I might have been 15 and some girl broke up with me and she showed up at my bar for my birthday with another guy. So I bought him a shot of whiskey.
You just said you were 15.
Yeah. You could drink in like underage in the bars where I'm from. So anyways, I bought him a shot of whiskey, went to his table. I whipped out my balls, dunked it into the shot when it hit his table. And I said, when you're done drinking that, you fucking cocksucker, meet me outside. He didn't. He didn't even take the shot. He just looked at me, looked at the shot, and walked out without her. Like that's all that happened.
You pulled your balls out?
Yeah, in the bar. And dunked them into like
that's fucked up.
The shot. And I was like, when you're done drinking that, yeah. So that's like a claim to fame because I did that in front of like all my friends, everybody. That was part like celebrating my birthday that day.
I want to give a shout out right now to Teabag if you're listening. You remember that story?
Go.
Okay, when I was like high school party, some chick passed out on the couch to make fun of her. She passed out drunk. I like teabagged her while she was passed out in front of everybody. And then everybody told her when she woke up, yo, yeah, like Kenny put his balls on your head. And then like I forgot even who this chick was. I was loser drunk anyways at the time, obviously. But she came up to me one time in like a public event, like it was like K-Days or something like that, I can't remember. But there was like all these people around. She's like, hey, Kenny. And I'm like, oh, hey. And I was with like people. And you don't remember me? And I was like, well, I'm Teabag. I'm like, what?
She just called herself Teabag.
Yeah, she identified herself as Teabag. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you teabagged me at a party in high school. Don't you remember? So like I barely connect the dots in my head. I'm like, holy fuck, hey, how's it going? So then like that happened once. But then a couple years later, I see her again. But like I don't recognize her again. She's like drastically changed shape and form. And she comes up to me, hey, Kenny, how's it going? She's like, it's Teabag. Oh, fuck. You're still calling yourself Teabag. What's up? So shout out to Teabag if you're listening.
That's great. Yeah, so I mean those were definitely hard lessons. I realized in that moment, like now. So I was that guy dropping my balls in a shot glass for a long fucking time after that. Like just I was just a fucking gorilla, man. Like everybody in my life was a possession. Nobody was just them.
Yeah.
And then I would say like as recent as 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I realized it's much better to be around people who are like just them.
Genuine.
No influence from me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And maybe I just need like what kind of world would it be if it was just a bunch of Justins? Like it'd be a pretty fucked up world. There's no variety. And so I started admiring the variety. Because all I was looking in people was for like loyalty and all of these things.
What
and
can
I'm
I
like,
get from this person?
Yeah, and that's not where I'm at. Like that is just that's not what I am or what I do today.
Now it's like, what can I give this person?
What can I give society?
Yeah,
you know, because I think that's along the line. Another hard lesson that was tough to take was. In that last relationship when I walked all those kilometers and yada, 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 and calling that person. And I thought that they would just accept me. She's like, yeah, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like that was a tough fucking lesson to learn when, especially because at that point I was like 3 or 4 years, 3 years? Yeah, I was 3 years into recovery. And I thought I had like all this profound growth and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, you totally shit the bed here, man. You shit the bed here. And that was kind of scary. You know, I thought that my recovery was in jeopardy in that moment. Because like maybe everything I've been doing is fucking wrong. And then my sponsor, who's been on the show a couple times, he said to me, he goes, it's not that you did anything wrong. You just didn't fucking follow through. It's like you haven't done anything wrong. You just haven't gone through what you need to go through in order to figure out who the fuck you are. Like you keep taking these respites and then you lose what you have found out. And
how would you? What do you mean?
So like I would get really close. I said this in the blog. I would get really close to figuring out who the fuck I was, and then I would get into a relationship.
Yeah, I can relate.
And then I lost my identity in that relationship. So what I recognized, what actually saved me was the discernment into the priesthood. Because it took me 2 years. I had to be celibate.
What a fucking dramatic shift, eh? You went from a
pimp
to a priest.
Well, I wasn't a priest. I was in discernment. So I was thinking,
Almost.
I was thinking about it.
You're on the way.
But I wholeheartedly looked at that. So I practiced the vow of chastity. I practiced the vow of obedience. I practiced the vow of poverty, and I practiced the vow, the oblate's mission, which was to provide to the poor. Right. So that's what I practiced that. I observed those vows wholeheartedly, which means I might as well have taken those vows. I was in observation of them.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that what I learned was I was okay with being celibate and living in chastity, provided I was in community. As long as I had community, I had no need nor want of any physical anything. Like it didn't really bother me.
What about morning woods?
They went away. Like honestly, didn't bother me. Like none of that bothered me. It was all gone because I was actually in the essence of what, like the blessing of what chastity was. I didn't have a need for any physical urge. It was gone. It was literally gone. And then when it came to poverty doesn't mean that you're not allowed to make money. It means that you make money and you give it to the church. And you live on very, very small means. Yeah. You just live on the means that's necessary. And then to have the obedience of to practice the vow of obedience, you need to listen to the church in every capacity that it tells you. So I did that. And I learned very, very quickly who I was. Like that was like an escalated way in those 2 years to say, okay, what does your spirituality look like? And then I was really able to focus on it. And then from there, I was able to focus on the temple that God has given me, my body. What does that look like? Is that falling apart? Because it's not supposed to fall apart. He didn't give it to you to piss away. See, you can buy a car many, many times, right? If I said to you today, I'll buy you a car. You tell me what car it is that you want, but it's got to last you for the rest of your life. You take a long time to pick that. Mm-hmm. Well, you only have that body for the rest of your life. You didn't get a choice in it. The beautiful thing is that your body is as good as anybody else's, and it can become as good as anybody else's. And whatever deficiencies or shortcomings that it has, we have the ability to fix it for the most part, aside from cancer and a few other things.
No, that's not true either.
What's that?
You can't cure cancer. You can cure cancer with adding oxygen or changing the pH.
For some people, that might work. For some people. I mean, we're not doctors. I mean, it may work. All I'm saying is that you have the ability with your body, you've only been given it once, to make it become the best that it can be and operate in its in the best function that it can.
Yeah.
So God didn't give you the ability, like God didn't give you a perfect body. He gave you the ability to have a perfect body to your application. Right? So once you look at the spirit, then you look at the body, then the next thing you look at is your emotional stability. Are you emotionally stable enough to be somebody of the clergy? And that's a difficult task to look at, because becoming in service, I'll tell you what, man, some of the hardest working people I know are priests. They work 18 to 19 hours a day most days. And then come Easter season in the Catholic Church, they can work up to 20 hours a day easily with 4 hours of sleep between having to, from prayer service to all the other clergy stuff that they have. Those guys work really, really hard for very, very little financial gain.
Sounds like codependency.
Well, it's actually being of service to their parishioners. To their parishioners, actually. Right? So like they have sacrificed their life in order to be an example of, or an exemplification of the way to live a Catholic life. That's really what they've done. And within the community that they come from, that's the example that they keep providing, right? So like where you'll see priests take their alone time is typically they'll do 3 years in the parish and then they'll take a 2-year sabbatical. And when they take that 2-year sabbatical, they don't work in a parish at all.
They go to Thailand,
Mexico, a lot of them, or they'll go back to the Vatican. You know, like that's typically what they do. That's where they restore and they renew their entire discernment again. So like they go 3 years and then they go fill up the well for 2. And they go for another 3 years and they fill up the well for 2. And that's how they, for the most part, stay the course. Right? I mean, I'm not saying that Catholic priests are perfect. All I'm saying is that throughout that process, I learned the ability of not having to be codependent upon anybody and learning how to be an independently strong person.
Well, it's kind of like they have monks in the Catholic Church, right? It's kind of like
sure they
monk.
do. Yeah, the difference with a monk though is they're not allowed to talk. Some of them. Right? And they just live in prayer. The difference between a priest and a monk is that priests typically work within the parish. Monks don't. They just stay within the within the society that they're in. Like they stay in that place that they're in. Like Star of the North.
Yeah.
There used to be monks that lived at Star of the North and they never left. They just took care of God's little corner of the world. And I'm not trying to get all religious or anything. All I'm saying is that process of 2 years is what allowed me to be able to really discern who I was. I found out who I was. And it took about 2 years to learn how to like myself, then love myself. But I didn't have another person. I had friends, and that was it. And even to like, which will segue us into the other topic here, boundaries with friends. I fucked that up many, many times in my early discernment, so to say, where I had to go back and was like, I totally overstepped my bounds here. I'm really sorry. Da 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 da. You know, or I needed too much from you. I'm sorry that I was so needy. You know?
Yeah. I was reflecting the other day on like a decision I made a couple times to cancel somebody out of my life because they weren't willing to, they didn't match me at like emotional dependency. Like, you know, have you ever like wanted to be in a relationship with somebody and you were friends with them? But then when you realize that they don't want to be in a relationship with you, they're just happy being friends, then it's like you stop being friends with them.
So yeah, I definitely had that.
And I feel like now that's such a fucking infant move to do. You
know what's strange about that? So that happened to me for 10 years of my life. I was in a friendship of that nature. Yeah.
And you just loved her?
Oh, undoubtedly. She did not reciprocate. It was
Not even once?
No. No. She did not reciprocate at all.
You didn't get her drunk?
We drank, but I just wasn't that kind of guy.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, like that. It happened, and it was pretty fucked up. Like I went across the country, so I at one point in my life had to leave a town in Ontario, and I decided to come back to Edmonton. But the reason why I came back to Edmonton was because this friend, air quotes again, had a boyfriend that was beating her up. And so when Justin came back to Edmonton, he flexed his muscles and showed she didn't realize what lifestyle I was involved in. Really? She had an idea, but not really.
Yeah.
And then we walked into her house when he hit her, and that freaked her right the fuck out. That scared the shit out of her. And then he hit her again one more time, and that scared her even more. So she, like, I chased her away at the end.
By fucking him up or what?
I can't really go into details what happened the second time, because that might be unhealthy for my legal stabilities.
Yeah.
But it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And so remember, I kept saying, like, the defense that I would use is nobody knew who I was. Nobody.
Yeah, she knew who you were.
To a degree, but you got to remember, I was in that lifestyle for a long time, even when in my teens. And that was one of the skills I was taught. The only people who know who you are is your family.
Mm-hmm.
You don't show anybody your fucking ID. Your ID goes in the safe. It's better to pay a fucking fine than for the wrong eyes to see that shit. Still in my house. You go in my house, you will not find a picture of my family anywhere on a wall. Still to this day. You're not going to see that. You go into my office, you're not going to see a picture of anybody in my life today. It's not going to be there. My phone, same shit. You're not going to see it. Like even my mom,
old habits die hard.
Even my mom and my phone, it says her cell. That's all it says. You know, it's not even her name.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't say mom or any of that. It just says her cell. It took me a long time to acknowledge that my mom wasn't dead. For a long time, because
you said that before. Yeah.
That was a huge defense mechanism, right? So, yeah. So, anyways, back to that relationship. Hard lesson learned was, I thought in time she would just look over that and like, you know, G up, you know, like just gangster up. You know what I mean? This is great lifestyle, blah 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 blah. And I'll never forget. She said to me, she goes, "You're gonna fucking go down in flames." She's like, I know it. You're going to go down in flames. And I totally did. Like she called it right. As much as I hate admitting it. And we still to this day don't talk. It's kind of creepy. Like I'll creep on her Facebook and see what she's up to.
Attaboy.
I haven't done that in a long time. I haven't done it in a long time. And I really try to stay away from doing that. Like if that thought comes in my head, I'm just like, yeah, no, it's not worth it.
I can do it for you if you need me to.
Do you ever creep on your ex-girlfriends to see what they're doing?
No.
That's good.
Detachment, baby.
That's good.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm so bad at breaking up. Usually they either fucking hate my guts or they left me, like stone cold fucking left me.
Yeah.
At a point where I didn't have a chance to make them hate me.
Oh, okay.
Like Megan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was just like, yo, peace, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And that was it. It's like, what? No, I haven't made you hate me yet.
Do you feel kind of like a loss when you can't do that? Do you feel like your closure hasn't happened?
You know what? Like it either goes one of two ways for me, like judging from my past, and that's it. They either fucking hate my guts or like we both went through so much trauma together that we're like bonded like war veterans. Where we can always like relate to that really fucked up experience that we had, probably because of me. And like, you know, that was a life-changing event and fucking we both survived, so we're going to be friends now.
Yeah. I can't say I had any of those with prostitutes. Sure, like sure I have that. But like a significant other, you see how I just valued that?
Like,
No, because significant others, I was always taught that they're not allowed to know what you do. Like I remember one time I was in a fairly substantial relationship and I was doing what I was doing and they asked me what I was doing. I fucking slapped her and I was like, you can't ask me that. You don't ever fucking ask me what it is I do. Never. You're not allowed. That's not allowed. She left the next day. I went to work, air quotes again. And I came back and she wasn't allowed there. Like she wasn't there. She was gone. Shit was gone.
I always had like a ride or die kind of expectation of them.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you're not coming robbing banks with me, then
This ain't
Then
gonna be a Bonnie and Clyde thing. Fuck
you're
this.
not even fucking solid. Straight up, every single girlfriend I had throughout the whole ordeal was like robbing bank, or not robbing, but like helping me manipulate a fucking jack move with somebody or fucking selling dope with me.
Yeah, no. I didn't do that. The people that would do things like that with me were just crash and burns. Like I would fucking burn their world down if it came down to between me and them.
Yeah.
No. You're a fucking throwaway. You're not. You're a nobody. Nobody knows who the fuck you are except for me. So I'd always find like that person, and then it's like I'm paying you to take the fucking bit. Take the bit. Like I can't go to jail. I fucking earn. You're not earning shit. Like you're taking the bit. Don't worry, we'll get you. You'll be a lawyer. We'll get you bail maybe if we don't think you're gonna run away.
Yeah.
Shit like that. But
Yeah, and I'd be the guy that would pick him up from jail after you dumped him in there. I'd be like, hey, yeah, you're pretty solid. Let's go.
You got a resume. Shit.
Yeah. Let's go to work.
One of the things that I wanted to get to about boundaries with friends was, do you remember in the old time when you actually believed that those people would die for you, your bros, right? They would die for you, and then to find out that they wouldn't. When it came push to shove,
Go bang their old lady.
but you see how that detachment hurt. Like that hurt, in my opinion, that hurt me more than any breakup with a girlfriend.
I always felt like in the scene, like in the drug scene and in the criminal scene, all the guys in there are trying to long dick each other. They're trying to like one up each other all the time. So like, I really never even felt that much loyalty. Like I had drinking buddies that were like my party bar friends where we would go and spend a whole ridiculous amount of money with and rent hotels and get escorts and stuff like that. But they were never like a ride or die. They like very, very, very rarely. Actually, you know what? I can relate one time. I like bought my runner everything. This one guy, I hooked him right up. I got him a vehicle. I helped him pay his rent. Took his kids groceries. Like I was a brother to this guy, and then he ended up going and getting off somebody else after like 2 years of me letting him piggyback off me. So that was kind of
Hurts.
an upset. Yeah.
I had there's a couple things that I was involved in where it was like a breakup, and I would suggest with the people, like the friends, air quotes again, or the crew that I was doing things with, it was very tight. Like when you got in with that group of people, it was life. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean like for life. I mean, it was life. Like you didn't do anything without them. You didn't have friends outside of them.
Yeah.
Everything you did was with them. And there was only certain places that you would go to where they were there and you could be open. So like, sure, there was long dicking that happened, but it was only amongst us. And the second, like if you were an outsider walking in, we wouldn't do that in front of, we would actually promote each guy oh, you remember that story when you chopped that guy's hand off? It's not saying that happened, but that's what would come out.
Yeah.
And you being a guy who's never been around those people, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's happening, right? So like, but as soon as you left the room, then we would be like jackals against each other almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fuck, I chop his head off. Fuck the hand. You know what I mean? Like,
you were puking, you little bitch.
yeah. You're putting Vicks under your fucking nose. You know, shit like that, right? You couldn't even fucking take the smell. Stuff like that, right? So like, like that's, and then so I think the biggest thing that hit me was sitting in jail knowing they weren't going to pay my bail. At first it was like, fuck you, how dare you leave me like this? And then it was like, Justin, how fucking stupid are you to have gone to this place where those fucking jackals won't even help you out anymore? Like, how dare you disgrace
yourself
this fucking brutally?
Yeah.
You know, that was that honor that I thought I had in myself was fucking killer. Just killer when I realized that was all just a facade and a personification. It wasn't who I was. And that was like the hardest thing to realize that needed to be reinvented. You know, like there are some things from that lifestyle that I still hold true and dear today. Like some of the lessons that I learned, like if you're the boss, you take responsibility even for anybody that falls. You know, it's like growing olives. Even you're the one who put the seeds in the soil, and that's up to you to allow it to be what it is. And even if an olive gets fucked up, that's your responsibility to own up to allowing that olive to be in your garden.
Listen, maybe out east that's the way it is, or back home in the old country, but here in Alberta, shit doesn't work like that. We're rednecks.
Oh yeah, they just
nobody
burn each
gives
other.
a fuck about anybody.
Sure, that's what it is. But that's what we were always like. That was the ideology behind it. So that's why when you bought into that, that's what you bought into.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was what it was. So when all that went to shit, went to hell, I felt real alone.
You know, that's why it was so easy for me to make the change from the drastic shift in my lifestyle and change my belief systems. So, you know, even though I was brought up around that, you know, brotherhood.
Yeah.
Fucking, you know, you work with the crew, you know, you hide from the radar, you do shit quietly, you're loyal to your crew. Like, I seen through all the flaws and cracks and bullshit that whole lifestyle was.
Oh yeah.
Like, especially when I went to jail, and then I seen, you know, people, or even my whole life, people, oh yeah, you know, if you're part of this crew, you don't do drugs, and then all of them are doing drugs.
Yeah.
You know, it's all hush hush. It's so phony. And like, even like gangsters from different provinces that I know make fun of the gangsters in Alberta.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it was really easy for me to make the fucking decision.
Well, it was always like, I know where I came from, where I like out there. Alberta was always seen as a place to rob candy from a kid. You know what I mean? Because there was no.
Like, it was like the Wild West, you know, when there was lots of oil money.
There's no territories. Like if you go into Montreal, man, there's territories, and you don't cross the fucking block. You know what I mean? It's like that Crip blood thing. Like people think of like this is your block. The city is sectioned up like that, and you don't fucking go outside of your territory. Same thing with Toronto. It's the same way. Vancouver's the same shit. It's just that way. Alberta is not like that at all. It's fucking free reign for everybody, you know, and that's what it was. But I guess what I'm getting at is in regards to that, the boundaries of those friendships, those boundaries were nil existed. The only boundaries that we really had in those relationships, like I said, one of mine was my mom was dead. That was a boundary. They didn't know I had it, but that's what it was. Mm-hmm. They didn't know my name, my real name ever, but that's what it was. They didn't know my age. That's what it was. You know what I mean? Like that's those were those boundaries.
How do you set up boundaries for yourself now? like you're in a relationship, but like, don't you have any like hot friends who are successful that just, might want to bang?
Well, my partner is hot and successful. So like, no,
No?
because I don't really have, I don't have that attraction towards them. So I'll tell you something that really changed my mind. So in AA, they tell us that men are only sponsor men and women only sponsor women.
Yeah.
Well, I call bullshit on that. And the reason why I call bullshit on that is because there was 100 men and 1 woman in the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous. So that woman had to get sponsored by a fucking man. That had to have happened. So that told me
100 men.
But that told me, that told me in a roundabout way that there is an amicable way for a man to be able to sponsor a woman. So I do have female sponsees today, and I don't want to fuck them at all. And I probably know the biggest, dirtiest, darkest secrets of their life.
Well, you can blackmail them into sex, Justin.
But that's what I mean. I'm not there for that. So that's when I realized that my manipulative motivations have changed.
Yeah.
Because I was there to actually help them.
Yeah.
And this again happened in discernment. If it wasn't for the fucking vow of chastity that I was really wholeheartedly trying to live by,
Yeah.
I would have manipulated that situation to fuck for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And the only thing that stopped me from it was the wholehearted decision to say, I'm not going to do this until I find out what my discernment looks like into the priesthood. Like I'm just going to follow through with this. So the practice of doing that with women, like we're talking a fucking confession here. These women are telling you about their sexual inventory. I mean, I've never remembered a step 5, still don't remember a step 5, but I can imagine in the moment you have this, and this was mind blowing for me. There was this one person, I'm not going to obviously say their name, but they were very attractive. Very, very attractive, physically stunning, just stunning. And they're talking to me about their sexual encounters and their demoralizing state of sexual encounters. And what was mind-blowing for myself in that moment, this is the only thing I remember from that step 5, was I was not physically turned on by that. Had it been Justin 3 months ago, I fucking totally would have been. I would have been like trying to hide the hard on. Like that's what I would have been doing. And in this moment, it wasn't even part of my mind in that moment. All I kept thinking about is, so how do we show her responsibility in this and blah, blah, blah. And I was doing my job as a sponsor in that moment. And then after, as I was looking at the entire situation, I kind of thought to myself, fuck, you are beyond that now.
Attaboy.
Like that's not who you are anymore. You're not a self-seeker anymore. You're here to actually help people. And that's where I don't look at women as objects anymore. I don't look at them as, and I'm not a feminist. I'll tell you right now, I am not a feminist. I don't look at women as objects, and I don't look at them as like this thing that's supposed to give me babies or any of that stuff. I just don't believe in feminism as what it is today. I mean, I believe in probably the classic version of feminism.
Equal rights. Shit.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I don't necessarily agree with what feminism has become today. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. So, I mean, is it possible, I guess, to get to a place of just pure... And I remember like patting myself on the back when I was like, fuck, I can just be their friend. Like, you know how hard that is, just to be a friend without sexual motive with like a partner, like a friend of the opposite sex?
It took me, I'd say, until I was about 26. I've only been able to have like amicable female friends for the last few years.
Yeah.
Where like, and it's not that like I've never not tried to fuck them in the past. It's that I've given up and I've just accepted that we're going to be really good friends. And I've kind of just accepted that they're not going to give in type thing.
Yeah.
But only in the last year and a half have I stopped pursuing that desire with every female that I meet.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
That is attractive, right?
Yeah, I get it.
It's only been a year and a half that I've actually like just allowed females to come into my life as friends.
Mm-hmm. I get it, man.
Yeah.
It's not. This is the benchmark. I'm going to tell this for any guy out there looking at some girl. If you are with a girl who has no girlfriends, get the fuck out of the relationship. There's a problem if her own species doesn't like her. That's a fucking problem. And you can always tell this if she says, I don't have any girlfriends. I only have guy friends. Red flag right there, because the only reason why she has guy friends is because she can manipulate them in order to get what the fuck she wants. And that's what you're going to be dealing with time and time again. She is, at that moment, an emotional infantile. Now, on the opposite side for women, the way how you know you need to leave a guy is he only has guy friends and he has no chick friends because he's trying to fucking bang them all. So if that's the case, leave the guy because he's an emotional infant too. And that's like, that, in my opinion, that's like the screenshot of all of it. In that one question, or a second they say, I can't have girlfriends, I just don't like women. Yeah, well, is it that you don't like women or is it that they don't like you? What's the question here, right? And if you're one of these girls who's sitting here, I mean, this is the beautiful thing about the podcast. We obviously don't know who you are. And as I had suggested in the earlier part of this podcast, if I've just offended you by saying what I've said, well, you should maybe take a look at that, because I'm not here to offend you. I may have just spoke some serious honesty to you, and that might have just really pissed you off. And that's okay. If it pissed you off, then maybe that's something you might want to work on, It might be nice to have girlfriends in your life who are like okay people, right?
Well, now I look at all my relationship as potential to blossom into something greater. And like, I don't look at it like it's going to be greater in a sexual sense. I look at it, 5 years down the road, we might do a business together. We might become colleagues of some sort and help each other out down the road. You know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a reflection of the relationship that you have of yourself. Like, remember before, how hard were you on yourself?
I used to kick the shit out of myself for everything.
Do you still do that today?
Fuck no. Even when I fuck up, the first thing I do is tell myself, it's okay, Kenny. Mistakes happen. You're going to bounce back. You're a good guy. I know it because your actions, don't worry about it. Fucking bounce back. Boom.
So how harsh were you prior to when your friends fucked up, when you were hard on yourself?
Oh, I would fucking lose it on them.
Yeah.
You degenerate puke. How could you? How could you be so stupid? This, that, and other thing.
Yeah. You kick them when they're down. Just like you kicked yourself when you were down.
Yeah.
Now
I have more friends. Now I have better friends. You know what I like now is Xing out people of my life that are still involved in criminal shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
yeah.
Not the slightest hint of like emotional turmoil or nothing. Oh, relationship's over? Thanks. Feel lighter already.
Yeah. Yeah. And really what it boils down to is the 5 biggest relationships you have in your life is a reflection of where you're going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the huge one. So like if you want to be a business owner, you should probably be friends with people who own businesses. Doesn't matter if it's highly successful or not successful, they have a business and you don't. Those are the people who you want to be friends with.
Yeah.
And maintain and establish those relationships. It's not because it's one of these things too. We say this in AA. If there's something that I have that you want, well, come get it. Because you're not going to get it by thinking that you can get it without being around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's free. Come get it.
Yeah. Ask.
Yeah, for the most part. Some people don't. Like, they just start hanging around you and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's pretty evident in the end. I mean, I'm not as on guard anymore as I used to be either.
Yeah.
Like, before I was always on. What the fuck is it they're trying to take from me? You know what I mean? Like that's... And the other thing is like I would always have everything on my sleeve. You know what I mean? Like, especially in that lifestyle, you have the flash, a bit of flash at the very least. And I remember those old school fucks. They used to be like, no. tuck your chain in. You don't show that shit.
Yeah.
Tuck your chain in. Don't wear a tennis bracelet. Like, sure, we know, hang around with wops, but like, don't do that. Don't wear a fucking pinky ring. Like, don't do that. Wear a nice suit. That's about as far as it goes. As long as your income shows that you can wear a nice suit. Like don't go past that. Don't drive a fucking Cadillac. Like, don't drive a Cadillac. Drive.
Get the GMC.
Get a fucking Buick. Drive a fucking Buick. Nobody's looking at a Buick. Fuck, you're working right now. You're not retired. Like, yeah, shit like that. And so I've always maintained that, even now. Like, I've always maintained that. Drive a van. Don't drive an SUV. Shit like that. You'd still be a working stiff with a van.
Yeah.
Things like that. So yeah, anyways, relationships are better today. Friendships are better. How do you pick how much time you give? Management of time with friends today. Because before it was all in, right? Like,
yeah. Now I look out for me first.
And like, I think before it would be like I'd have two friends that I was like, two crew members or two guys from that scene that I would have in my life that were like 90% of my time, and the other 10% was spent in like the social club or something. And those two people, that's who I was like doing everything with. So that's what predominantly was everything.
Yeah.
Now I don't do that.
No.
Like, time spread between everybody. I probably have about 5 people that take up the majority of my time, but that's about it. And majority of my time is like 50%. So they get like 10% each.
Yeah.
It's the worst is when you get, like, I just took on a couple sponsees just recently, and they're like calling you all of the time, and they need so much attention, and they need all this, and they need all of that. That's fine in the beginning, but eventually, and one of the girls actually that I was one of my sponsees. I was working at a homeless shelter here in the city, and this person would call me all the time. Like, all the time in the middle of my shift. And like, I have 2 drunk people fucking fighting each other, and my phone's going off. And I finally said to this person, I said, look, you have the fundamentals now. Go make your own decisions. You know what I'm going to say. So stop thinking about what I'm going to say. Know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. Go do what the fuck you think it is that I'm going to say. Just go do it. And if you fuck it up, come back and let's reassess, because that's going to be way less than you calling me every fucking time before you make a decision. We've grown to this place now where you know what I'm going to say. In the beginning, it was necessary for you to call me before every decision.
Okay, Justin, I get the hint. You don't need to blast me over the mic.
No, it's not you. It's not you. I'm just saying that this is what this girl had came to.
I won't call you all the time now.
That's fine. No, you don't take that much of my time. In all honesty, you don't. There's another guy right now that's taking quite a bit of my time.
Yeah,
and it's a little strange when having to put somebody on the pay no mind list because you're in the middle of business.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you know that they can't handle it. You know what I mean? Like, they're leaving messages like, if you don't fucking call me back, I'm gonna slit my throat. And you're like,
holy fuck.
Yeah. You're like, well,
Go ahead.
This is what people do, right? Like, because they're so codependent.
Read Codependency No More.
Well, and that's the deal, right? Like, in the beginning, that's what could happen. That's how some people are. And so that's what I was getting. Or I'm going to slit my fucking wrist, or my life is going to shit. You're not fucking helping me out, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what's help? What's help in doing it for you? There's a big difference, right? Am I doing it for you, or am I helping you? Because helping you says, here's the door, go open it. Doing it for you means I'm going to go to the other side of the door and I'm going to open it for you and invite you in. That's not who I am. I don't need to do that for anybody. You're the one who has to take that step of courage, or the leap of faith, or the Geronimo jump. That's what you kind of got to do yourself. I can't do that for you. And so, yeah, I think that's the only side effect I see, because I still need, to some degree, those sick people in my life to know where I can go. You know what I mean? Like, I need that. I need that in my life. Like, I still go to meetings. I need to see those people who are all fucked up. So I'm like, yeah, I don't slip back to that, But that's like the only thing I would say where I'm kind of sassy and I'm like, fuck, dude, I guess I need this a little bit. So,
Are we out of time yet?
no, well, almost there. Do you have any of that in your life where you have like that one piece that you're kind of looking at and you're like, I don't know if I really want that still?
I don't know. I'm not really pushing too much right now because, whatever you resist persists. I'm kind of really practicing the detachment in a lot of areas and kind of just trusting in God or odd that I'm gonna, come across the right opportunities, and I'm gonna
Just trusting the process.
Yeah, I'm trusting the process right now still. I'm not gonna force too much. My relationship is good. It's getting better.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the things that you implemented right away from Codependent No More? Because you're at that spot now. You're in the detachment phase in Codependent No More. So they've given you some serious action things, right?
Well, like the first thing is just, be aware. Be aware of what is codependent and where I am codependent, and, and try not to label where she's codependent, right? Because that just stirs a shit pot.
And it also allows her to be her.
Yeah, like I don't want to force change on anybody but myself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about hostage taking and grabbing people up in our motivation, right?
Yeah. But I still, you ever watch the movie The Little Giants? The two little football teams of the kids?
Oh, maybe a long time
It's
ago.
like the dad from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was one of the coaches.
Oh, maybe.
Anyways, he had an older brother, and the older brother would always say, I knew you'd see it my way. And that was one of my things. I'd like to coerce people, and then I knew you'd see it my way.
Yeah.
But really, they didn't. They were just appeasing me.
Because they were tired of hearing it.
Yeah. So, the only person I'm out to change now is myself. And in change, I only want to be better tomorrow than I am today.
And watch this. In your change, your exemplification of that change will allow other people to change without saying words.
Yeah, exactly. Lead by example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just going to upgrade.
That's right.
Bam.
That's right.
Don't need a rebuilt. Get myself a new one.
Remember I was saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to have a fucked up rebuild. You just go to the car lot and buy a new one.
Yeah.
That's much better. It's got warranty. Shit.
Shit, son.
Anyways, let's wrap this up.
All right, everybody, please subscribe and share with all your friends. I repeat, share with all your friends.
It'd be much appreciated. Hit that like button. That really helps us out too if you're listening to this thing on YouTube.
Yeah. Our YouTube numbers seem weak, but YouTube has a funny algorithm and it takes time to grow.
It does.
So hit like. It'll help speed the process up.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. Become a Pride member at your soonest convenience. Drop us your email on our website, which is www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com. By giving us your email, you are now a Pride member. We will not share your email with anybody, nor will we sell it to
anyone.
Trump. If you would like to become a financial contributor, we do have a Patreon page. It's www.patreon.com/lifeonlifesterms with capital L's. Contribution as little as $5 a month. We will send you all the good vibes we can.
Happy Valentine's Day, all you fuckers out there.
Practice safe sex.
Don't lose your relationship tonight.
Yeah.
Or throughout the weekend. If so, you can always buy flowers. Go to Billy Bud's Flowers. They're located in various places across Canada, and they would be welcome to help you out.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful Friday, guys.
Ti amo.
Peace.